From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
As development in Bozeman continues to sprout up here from neighbors about some concern for a new development north of downtown.
And at 6:34, we follow up on the move by the Biden administration to take away unspent rental assistance money from Montana. Find out what will happen to the program if that money does go away.
California becomes the first state to start phasing out some gas-powered lawn equipment. I'm Anthony Purro with what's behind the move and if other states could follow suit.
6:31 on this Friday. Chet Lehman, Matt Elwell with you here. We were talking about that yesterday, the no gas lawnmower thing.
Some instances it might work.
Some
it's going to be a little tough.
Yeah, more to follow on that. In the meantime, much more normal. It's still well above normal, but it seems better than it did.
The worst part is I've mowed when it's colder than what it is right now.
Oh, for sure.
Daytime temperatures yesterday into the 60s. Right now we're seeing 30s. Definitely cooler conditions than what we had yesterday, but our daytime high still well above average from this point in the year. Should be into the mid 30s for most of the area. Today we're seeing daytime highs into the 50s, and that is over a 15-degree swing in our temperatures. We're going to talk about the possibility of seeing some wind and some snow and some cool air, maybe a return of that wintry weather. That's all coming up here in just a little bit.
All right, thank you, Matt. 6:32 now. Our top story this half hour. North side of Bozeman seeing more development. North Central Project aims to develop 4 blocks north of Main Street. DN's Edgar Cedillo finds some people are concerned with one of the blocks slated for development.
As Bozeman continues to grow, development seems to keep sprouting up. And some neighbors here on the north side of downtown have some worries about a new development which could cause its neighborhood to lose some of its character.
Looking at what's happening with the North Central Master Plan, the Ives development, and just kind of keeping an eye on things that are happening.
Concern Held and her neighbors have with the proposed Ives development is that the project is clashing with the neighborhood around it.
So it doesn't seem that the designers and developers of this building really took into consideration the neighborhood.
Worry about the area is zoning right here on Villiard between Wilson and Grand. 3 different zoning districts meet. The neighborhoods sit in zones R3 and R4, which allow for medium and high density housing to be built. But right now, most of the area is single family housing. Where the proposed apartment complex is zoned, that is B3, which is what most of downtown along Main Street is zoned. And this zone encourages high volume.
So it doesn't really fit in with the community plan and what the community plan talks about being kind of a city of neighborhoods.
And they feel that this development will be a clash of neighborhoods without any transition between them.
That what people love most about Bozeman is the small town feel.
And even as Bozeman continues to grow, they say they welcome it but wish more thought was put into development.
No, the city is growing. We're not saying stop development, no development.
With Bozeman being one of the top fastest growing cities in the country, they say.
We know development is coming. We know that we're growing and that there's a lot of advantages that come with our growing as well. But we want the growth to really be compatible with what we already have here.
The public comment period for this project ends on December 3rd. After that, a final decision will come from the Community Development Director on whether this project will move forward. North of downtown Bozeman, Edgar Cedillo, MTN News.
All right, thank you very much, Edgar. 6:34 now. Earlier this week, we told you about the Biden administration reallocating some of Montana's federal emergency rental assistance money elsewhere because much of that hasn't been used. But state officials say that doesn't mean the rental assistance program is stopping. TN's Mike Dennison talked to the Gianforte administration and a renter and a landlord and files this follow-up report.
The federal rental assistance program already has helped several thousand Montanans impacted by the pandemic to pay rent and utilities. And state officials say 5,800 applications are still in the pipeline for possible approval.
We have funds, we're processing applications. People can definitely still apply.
But the program has had some delays lately in processing applications. Christina Red Youngman of Great Falls told MTN News that both she and her son had to wait more than 2 months just to apply this fall, and then another 2 months before getting word this week that their applications had been approved. Red Youngman says she's fallen 4 months behind on her $1,100 a month rent for a home on Great Falls' lower north side. Her landlord, Pat Goodover, says he's willing to accommodate the delays, but that the processing had been much faster earlier this year. Cohen, the Housing Division Administrator, says the state had to redo its system for the rental assistance this summer to adjust to stricter federal reporting requirements.
Our initial application processing time was ranging between 12 and 14 days, which we were feeling, that's pretty good. It is unfortunately around 32 days right now. Our goal is to really get through the backlog of applications by the end of the year.
Goodover says as a landlord, he knows that the need is still out there for the program. Governor Gianforte has asked the feds to allow Montana to use some of its rental assistance money to address other housing needs in the state. But the federal funds to help renters hit hard by the pandemic will still be around until at least next September. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
6:36 now. Millions of Americans own gas-powered lawnmowers, but that could be changing. One state making the switch to electric mowers, and experts believe other states could eventually be doing the same. CBS's Anthony Purra explains.
David Hernandez is with Sod and Turf Pros in Los Angeles and has used gas-powered equipment for years. He understands electric tools are the future, but there are pros and cons.
You won't be having all that gas up your nose, be inhaling it, because I've been there, I've done that.
One trade-off is usage time. He bought an electric leaf blower, but has to operate it sparingly.
It doesn't last as long, right? So we use a battery, it only lasts me like 20, 30 minutes. And then after that, I have to go charge it.
Homeowners are snatching up e-powered products, but it's a harder transition for lawn care companies running lots of devices all day. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a bill into law making California the first state to ban the sale of gas-powered lawn equipment by 2024 in an effort to curb emissions. Lawmakers supporting the ban say the gas-powered equipment produces high levels of pollutants that impact human health, emissions that can lead to lung cancer, heart disease, and respiratory problems. According to the California Air Resources Board, using a commercial gas-powered lawnmower for an hour creates the same amount of smog-forming pollution as driving a car 300 miles from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. USC environmental law professor Robin Craig says other states could follow.
We'll see how manufacturers react. I think the easier that manufacturers make it for other states to adopt the same sort of ban, the more states will do it.
Hernandez and consumers can still use their gas-powered lawnmowers in 2024, but any brand new equipment purchased will have to be electric. Anthony Purra, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Let's talk about Twitter. You may already know about their private information policy and their never-ending attempt to stop the trolls. Well, on Tuesday, that expanded even further. Private images and videos are now added to the list of content that can't be shared without consent.
Media is not just going to get taken down because it has someone in them and there's not a consent form signed. The person who is being portrayed has to tell Twitter that they want it taken down.
Casey Fiesler is an assistant professor in information science at the University of Colorado Boulder. She points out the main goal of this is to protect people's privacy and safety.
So one of the examples they gave was images of women in Afghanistan. If photos of them in public not wearing a burqa would put them in danger.
This policy does come with some confusing fine print. For example, Twitter states that you may not share those private images or videos without that private individual's consent. However, the policy doesn't apply to public figures in most cases, or in cases where that image or video is considered, quote, newsworthy.
On balance, it's a good thing, but the culture of these platforms is largely infested with, troll-like harassing type behavior.
Michael Serrazio is an associate professor in the communications department at Boston College. He pointed to a recent Twitter blog which says, quote, the misuse of private media can affect everyone, but can have a disproportionate effect on women, activists, dissidents, and members of minority communities.
Effectively, it is a way in which trolls or malicious actors on the internet, largely in social media domains, weaponize personal information against individuals who they're trying to harass.
The new rules could come with unintended consequences. Airline passengers who are filmed behaving badly could ask to have their images taken down. Because of the nuances in this policy, it's not clear how Twitter would handle a situation like this. But as Michael explains, this move is all about trying to protect people from things like doxing, which is where an internet troll posts someone's private information online. It's meant to intimidate, and it's something Twitter has been trying to combat for years.
There have been so many really upsetting cases of harassment, particularly against members of marginalized groups.
I'm Jessie Cohen reporting.